uniforms.
Are they pretty cool?
Those helmets, they like glisten. They must
Yeah,
have a nice paint scheme on it.
I don't like that logo. I like the old logo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I do.
All right.
Hold on, guys. I'm going silent just to share to the other pages, okay?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna grab a beer and my Bill's hat real fast. So be right back.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pee. Be right back.
Yeah.
We got 4 minutes.
Are we gonna start a new meeting or no?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I'll start a new meeting here in about a minute, okay?
Yep. So you guys are having a good old time down there.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. I'm jealous. Sarah and I have been itching to get away, man.
Delaware, Bethany Beach, Fenwick Island, all that stuff is, it's like Ocean City, Maryland, but cheaper and a lot more quiet.
I like that.
Yep. And then right about 20 minutes down the road towards Rehoboth, there's a lot more, there's the bar scene, which is really nice. I haven't been because I'm a family man, but um, it's pretty rocking.
Sweet.
All right, guys, I'm going to start a new show, okay?
Yep.
See you in about 2 seconds. Done.
Okay.
All right, let me just make sure we got audio. We got audio. You guys talk quick.
Test test.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's the Bills? What's the second topic?
Oh Jesus, Jerry. Stadium attendance protocols.
Yep. Yeah, it's COVID stadium and then weekly wrap up.
Weekly wrap up. All right.
And then, if there's obviously time, we could talk about Darren Lee, Ezekiel Ansah, and Yannick Nagaku if anybody wants to talk about them.
Oh Jesus Christ! What is this shit? Hold on a second.
Sound all good?
Yeah, he's got our sound.
Fuck. Okay. Whew. All right, you guys ready?
You ready to
Frank,
go?
give me a brim touch when you're ready.
All right, yo. So in the intro, the audio comes through on your guys' mics, not mine, and I think it's just because the computer it cycles through that since you guys are coming through the computer. So if you can talk if you want to, I don't care about it, but just so you know, during the intro, your guys' voices come through. All right.
This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
It is bedlam. It is pandemonium. It is Fandemonium.
Welcome, fellow Bills fans, to 24/7 Bills Fandemonium presents the K-Gun Report. I'm your host, Jared. Joining me tonight, we have Swank
Yep.
and Scott.
Hello.
There he is. All right, just a reminder to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can find those handles on the tracker below. Keep your eye on the tracker throughout the season. We're going to have updated injuries, fantasy football stats, Buffalo Bills news, and 24/7 Bills Fandemonium news. Tonight's topics, we're going to discuss our thoughts on the COVID-19 and what the false negatives mean to the Buffalo Bills and the NFL. We're also going to touch on Bills Stadium, the attendance policy for the first two games, and some protocols that are happening. And then we're going to end the night with our weekly wrap-up of training camp. Fellas, tonight we have 19 days till kickoff.
I
That's
can't wait.
exciting. That's
Getting
less than 3
close.
weeks. You guys pumped?
Oh yeah,
So pumped.
it
All
needs to happen now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those 19 days are going to seem like they're going to take forever. All right, Scott, I'm going to call on you first. What is the beverage for this evening?
Well, I usually go Iron Smoke, but I'm in Delaware and really didn't feel like bringing my favorite bottle of whiskey with me, with the chance of me losing it or it getting broken. So I'm actually going Tito's vodka and tonic tonight.
Oh,
And what
Tito's.
glass was that being drank out of?
Whatever this place provided.
All right. Well, there
Hotel
you go.
plastic, baby.
Well, I'm glad you at least got that Bills flag in the background.
There you go. There you go. Go Bills.
Swank, it
Bills.
looks like you might be drinking a nice Belgium. What do you got in there?
Oh, I'm drinking a 11.5% triple IPA made with oat milk, and it's by the Vale and Omnipolo. So it's quite delicious. I've been saving it just for episode 4 of the K-Gun Report.
There you go.
Special occasion.
Absolutely. How about you, bud?
All right. Well, I was searching in the store yesterday, and I found Oktoberfest everywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of choices, and I had to go with our local Rochester Genesee Brewery, their Oktoberfest.
Nice.
I have it in a nice glass, and that's going to be keeping our palate nice and ready for talking all night. So,
There you go.
cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Episode 4.
All right, we're gonna get right into it. COVID-19 and what the false negatives mean to the NFL. To catch everybody up, there was 77 cases of false negatives that happened this weekend. Most of the players took a break, but they were mostly back on Monday, meaning that 77 came back negative. So it's a good thing that it happened 3 weeks before the NFL season started. It gives the NFL a chance to see what they need to do to get players back on the field for Sunday, especially if it happens on a Friday. And it also gives teams a little bit of preparation time just in case this does happen. They can figure out a protocol for the next practices, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday for a walkthrough. Swank, I'm going to call on you first. How did the COVID-19 false negatives hit you, or what would it get you thinking about?
I mean, it freaked me out at first, man. I hear that Josh Allen isn't practicing, and they pushed practice back for an hour. Bean came on with a press conference, and he was calm and cool and big baller Bean, just like always. And I think he put a lot of people's mind at ease until all the reports started coming from training camp that Josh Allen wasn't out there, and it was an undisclosed reason, but they couldn't release the names. And I appreciate like all the HIPAA and privacy stuff, but man, it was not cool if he wouldn't have came on and explained it the way he did. And then the fact that there was 76 other people that had false positives. The way they explained it with they had to test negative twice within 48 hours, I think. And then
I think it's 24.
24, okay.
Yeah.
24 hours, and then he was able to return to practice yesterday anyway. But Sunday was a little stressful for old Mr. Swank over here. But I'm glad that it happened. I don't think there's any reason to get shook up about the quality of the test or the way the NFL's doing it. The fact that they caught it and nobody was infected is like the big plus to take away from all of this. And that they acted so swiftly and that everybody came out okay. I know Josh had a lot to say about it. He wasn't happy that he missed a day of practice. I think the quote was, "You can't get those reps back." And I love that. I love that passion, that drive. It's just going to be one of the sad facts that we're going to have to deal with over this season. This is going to happen to teams, whether it's false or not. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I heard about the news about the 77 people getting false negatives, I was scrambling around trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step? What's the next tests that have to be done? And when I found that it's pretty much two negative tests within 24 hours, that's moving fast for the NFL, and it's promising that they were able to do that and get everybody back to practice. Josh Allen being out, I know it's frustrating for him, but an opportunity that came up was Matt Barkley got some reps with the number ones. Excuse me. So you got to look at the positives with the negatives. Positives, as the NFL learned how to deal with something like this, they got the players those two tests to get back in, and some players got more playing or practice time before the season started. Scott, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest with you, the first thing I thought was, well, Barkley is going to get some reps in, and it clearly was beneficial. He looked good in practice from what I saw, because we can only get limited feedback from the media. But he looked like he completed some good passes, and it's something that you're right. You're glad to see happen before the season actually starts. We'd all be pulling the rest of our hair out if it happened week 3, week 4, week 5. But the fact that it happened 2 weeks before the season starts is actually pretty sweet. Real quick, I wanted to touch on a couple of other teams that had to go through the scare. There are 77 false positives, and it wasn't just the Bills. It included the Bears, Browns, Jets, Packers, Patriots, Steelers, and Vikings, and all those players were able to return to practice on Monday. The only concern I have is they're sending these results to a lab somewhere else. I know there's a point of care testing out there that could be done pretty quickly. I imagine they're probably going to use those for maybe pregame, the day before a game or something like that. But I don't know what the cost is and all that stuff. But you would think that they'd have a more rapid result. But who knows how accurate those are. That's the big thing with the accuracies of these tests. I mean, I think nationwide it's 70% off false positives, and everybody's going, if it's a false positive, you got to stay out of work. You can't practice until you get those 2 negatives, obviously in the NFL. But it does make people question the efficacy of the tests. It makes people nervous. I mean, the last thing we're going to want is one of our star players or any of the other star players on any other teams go out after they practice all week before the game. And I still don't know when they're going to test these guys. If it's the Sunday before, well, they're not going to do it after a game. Are they going to do it Monday morning after the game? And then not test again to allow them to play? Or I don't know how that's going to work out. I haven't read any literature based on that, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays. And if somebody does come back positive, obviously they have the 24 hours to get 2 negatives, but if there's a bunch of false positives out there, that's kind of scary because some people may have it. Yeah, it's just scary to know that someone might not play because of a false reading.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, one of the positive things out of this too, and I think that the Bills had an advantage, whatever advantage you can pull out of a situation like this. But Bean said it was a great fire drill for them in case it happens in the season. And guys stepped up and guys practiced and they still played and they still made it happen. They didn't lose a day of practice. And to the point about the other teams with like the Browns, I know the Browns, as soon as they got the positive results, they cut practice. They're like, practice is canceled, that's it. McDermott just pushed it back an hour to see what was going on. And as soon as all that information came out, then it was like, okay, we're going to have practice. It's an hour later, but if you don't feel comfortable, don't come. And as far as I know, everybody showed up. So, you know, that goes back to that culture thing that everybody always keeps hitting over the head and we touch on a lot, but it's relevant, man. Like, they trust him. He's not going to put them in a bad spot. So I thought that was really cool. And it's, you know, it's rough luck for the Browns, man. Like, you miss a full day of practice, everybody on the team, as opposed to like, what was it, 4 guys that missed for us?
I think so.
Yeah.
For us?
Yeah. So.
And the Browns need as much practice as they can get.
Yep.
Well, also, what plays a factor in that is the ability to communicate with your players. I don't know how well the Cleveland Browns coaching staff communicates with their players, but McDermott did give the players the option to show up to practice if they wanted to or if they wanted to stay home. He also waited an hour, like Swank said, but then I feel like I heard he communicated well and let them know what false negative means and all that stuff. So, and I understand why Cleveland would say, let's hold up and do it. I mean, much respect to that organization, but McDermott was a little bit more patient, and I feel like we got an extra practice out of it. So that's always good. I just want to throw this out there, and I know people have probably seen this, that there have been 0 new cases for players of COVID between August 12th and the 20th. So that's a whole week without any positive COVIDs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're not doing the bubble or anything like that, so it's you know, it's good.
I also want to throw in, guys, the fact that when teams have to travel to a different stadium, there's going to be different protocols. So I imagine, Scott, you had a question about when were they going to test the players and the coaches. I imagine after practice on Wednesday or Thursday morning, they're going to get on the bus and head out to the facility, hopefully get there, or the plane, and get there by Friday. And their facility, whoever the plane, let's say Miami, because that's week 2, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But I'm sure everybody's going to have their own protocol and test. So I imagine Friday is going to be the testing date. And then, like we said, 24 hours for 2 negative tests if something comes back kind of kinky, which is good.
Kinky's always good.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it. I'm glad you did it. Delaware's changed you, man.
Look, I got a nice little burn going. I mean, look at that.
Nice.
Yeah.
A little ink on there. Did you get that this weekend?
No. That's one of those rub-offs.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
All right, guys, something that we've discussed the last couple of weeks, and we finally got our stadium name, and it's just gonna be called Bill Stadium. A lot of things have come up with that. I'm gonna first go to this fella named Dave Portnoy from Barstool.
Yeah.
When people first heard that he was gonna try to get the naming rights of the stadium, I think people were actually pushing for him. But then later stuff started coming out, like he might be a New England Patriots fan. That would taint the stadium, I think, a little bit.
Yeah,
He had
he
issues with
definitely
good.
is. Yeah, he's from New
He
England,
had,
and he's
yeah, he had
yeah.
issues with, I think, forging paperwork so he can get into press conferences during the Super Bowl. So he doesn't have a clean record. Apparently, he's had a good record for the last some odd years, but when he first started, it was kind of sketchy. Scott, I'm gonna let you take this lead. Bill Stadium, we got the name, we got the individual who wants to possibly purchase the naming rights. We have attendance policies that's changed for the next two games, home games. I'm gonna let you take off with this one.
And that's just recent news, which is very exciting to know that right now it's just 2 games. I'm glad they didn't jump the gun and cut all the games out, all 10 games. That's a playoff home game right there, guys, including the 10. But I'm glad they didn't jump the gun and just make it so they didn't have any home game attendance. McDermott hit the nail on the head when he expressed how annoyed he was about this whole attendance thing, and I kind of agree with him. Bills fans, we know there's such thing as home field advantage. The loud noises, the crazy crowds, the pregame, the halftime. It's just crazy throughout the whole time, and it gets to the opposing teams, and to have some home teams be allowed to have fans and have some other, and the Bills, for instance, can't have the home field advantage. It kind of, Goodell needs to step in and kind of make a decision. It's either going to be no fans or fans. Bills, obviously, it's just for the first 2 games. The first 2 home games are against the Jets, and I think the Rams are the second home game.
Yep.
But then they have to travel to Miami, who's going to have a home field advantage on top of having the home fans there. Um, your performance elevates when you're playing in front of people. I know the competitiveness and all these guys come out regardless of what happens, but there's that extra grit that comes to it when you're in front of people celebrating your touchdowns and your sacks and your interceptions and your long runs. You're not going to have that, and the momentum thing is a big thing. And those home field teams that don't have the fans there aren't going to have that. I know there's a couple rules. Obviously, they're going to have masks. All the fans have to have masks, and I'm looking at the Bills away schedule because right now it's just the first 2 games that the Bills can't have their home game fans. Miami's allowed to have fans. By week 4, the Vegas can't have fans. By week 5, Titans possibly can have fans. Week 7, Jets until further notice, as far as I know. Cardinals hasn't had any. Arizona hasn't said anything. 49ers in week 13. They said later in the year they'll have fans. And week 13 and um, in my mind is later in the
Wait,
year.
yeah.
Then you have Denver in week 15, and they said they'll reevaluate after week 5, and then again in Miami. So where we're going potentially is not going to have a lot of fans. So it doesn't really bother me that much. But the fact that Miami, they're only going to have 13,000 fans, which I think is more than they've ever had in their stadium, anyways.
I was going to make a point of that.
But it's
You're
just
putting
the
that
fact,
number high for those Miami Dolphins fans.
and the thing is you don't want other teams to jump in and say you can have fans, and then something else come of it and ruin it for everybody else. So if 13,000 fans is nothing in that stadium, just don't let them in. As far as I'm concerned, the way I see it, better safe than sorry. I hate to say this, Bills fans, but go 17 weeks without fans, and come playoff time is when you say, okay, come on in. By then it's January, February. You know what I mean? And that gives you a lot of time to make sure the spread of COVID doesn't happen if that's what they're concerned about. And it's playoff time, and people are going to be crazy.
And what an excellent way to increase your revenue, too, is to get those antsy Buffalo Bills fans or any NFL fan to purchase a playoff ticket. look for those tickets to be out of some people's reach. But
Yeah. That's what they were saying about the Miami tickets too, where the secondary market is going to be insane. Like, I know that the Dolphins are building, and they got Tua and all that stuff, and there's a little bit of hype around them, but the amount of Bills fans that are going to buy those tickets for like stupid money because they can't, that'd be like legitimately the first game that they could attend, if you just got down to Miami and got into the game. I think there's a lot to be said about that too. Like, the secondary market's huge for ticket sales. So if you're mandating who can buy a ticket, or like trying to keep it contained to like, okay, only Floridians can buy tickets or whatever it's going to be,
right.
like how do you control that? Because once they get the tickets in their hand, they can go on StubHub and double, triple, who knows. Like, in these kind of times, people are so starved to get to a football game that you'd be paying crazy money just to get in and get your fix. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't know. I agree with you, man. I don't think that they should do it. Let it go for like the first quarter of the season and see what happens. They've been doing so well for so long. I'll tell you what, if the Bills come back from Miami, the way the Marlins brought that stuff up here, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be furious. You cancel the next 2 weeks of games for the Bills because you couldn't contain your fans. Like, it's gonna make me upset.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is the whole Florida kind of, I don't want to get political, but they're doing their thing different ways than everybody else is. And
Yeah.
our second game of the season's down in COVID country. Yeah, I get why McDermott would be upset, going down there and playing in a facility that they're allowing 13,000 people to be there.
Yeah.
Exposing
and that's
the players more than just other players and coaches, but now the fans. I know they're going to have regulation and where they can sit and how far apart they're going to be. But, if they have Brian Cox down there at the game, he's going to be spitting all over the place.
Yeah.
But besides the point. But, yeah, I mean, I'd be scared too. You work this hard. Buffalo's been pretty well with the COVID, and the whole NFL has. And then to go down there, I know Miami doesn't have any COVID-19 cases, but just the fact that you're going to allow 13,000 people in there is opening up a possible floodgate for negativity. And maybe they'll change it. Maybe they have 5 weeks to do it. Maybe something will be signed where they won't allow it, but we'll see what happens.
And that's the other question that comes into it is, when you have fans at football games and now there's an outbreak because of that football game, how's the NFL going to play that? Are they going to suspend games and cancel games not because the players got infected, but because it does spread so easily still, and now the fans are all infected, and now they're going to say, well, let's take a couple games off, let's cancel a couple games. They should just keep it to the NFL players and the organizations, but if there's an outbreak in Miami or any of these other stadiums that allow fans to come in, how are they going to play that into the whole COVID thing? Or are they just not just going to allow fans, which I think they shouldn't, but there's that part. And we're talking about stadium attendance and protocols. Just recently, they came out with the whole tailgating thing, which I know are upsetting a lot of fans. Eric Mantwijad. That's another tough name, Swank, that I can't say. He's the he's the guy that owns a popular. He owns the Hammer Lot down there in Buffalo.
Yep.
Best
place to tailgate.
Yeah, and he expressed his frustrations. I mean, we get fans from all over the place. Locally, it would be Syracuse, Rochester, up in Canada. All over the place, and there's a bunch of crazy fans that would actually come down and still pay the $15 just to tailgate and have a good time outside of the perimeter of the stadium. And they're putting the kibosh on that, and it's like, again, you hate to get political because it is political with the whole COVID thing, because they're the ones making the decisions. Some of the people making these decisions are not responding to the questions in regards to the tailgating. Oh, thank you.
Hey, how do I get me one of them?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
For those of you who don't know, I'm on vacation in Delaware. I'm out with my in-laws, lovely family.
Is that a whole bottle of Corona?
Right.
Well, good choice, huh?
But and like I was saying, Bills fans would go out and tailgate. People would open their property, spend the money, have a good time, watch the TV outside and the big screen TVs, but they're
Yeah.
putting the kibosh on that. And it's hard because you see 13,000 fans allowed to go to Miami, and then you can't even hang out at someone's house out in their yard to watch a game.
Well, I mean, you just got to be smart about it. I think if it's little groups and it's contained and it's not insane, then, nobody's going to, I don't think anybody's going to give you any problem. But the hard thing is going to be you're not going to do a lottery at Hammer's Lot where like 50 guys can come and hang out 6 feet apart from each other. Like it's just they'll never go for that. They'll just do whatever they want. If you open that gate up, they're there. And I'm pretty sure Hammer's Lot is a private lot. So I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't think the Bills can say anything about that. I know the state can. I know, if Cuomo wanted to send some troopers down there, or if Buffalo wanted, Amherst, whatever, all that stuff. They wanted to send a presence down there and make sure people weren't going nuts. They could probably do it, but I think, we've been talking about like, what would you do for an alternate tailgate? I'm talking about hanging a TV out in my garage, smoke up some meats, drink some beers, listen to John Murphy in the pregame, and have a good old time. I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I think if everybody goes out like a bunch of little kids kicking and screaming, being like, "This is the way we do it," it's just going to make things last longer,
Right.
And it could potentially do some long-term damage to tailgating in general. If you throw a big fit for like while there's a pandemic going on, like because you want to jump through a table and take a bowling ball shot, like all that stuff is awesome, but like right now maybe count your blessings.
It's 1 year.
Yeah,
it's 1 year. Unless you're a 99-year-old that hasn't done that and you want to do it.
Yeah,
it's just 1 year. If you want next year to happen, make sure this year happens and just be responsible.
Absolutely.
I got a 3.5 car garage with a couple big TVs that I watch the game in, Bills gear all over the place, and that's how I'll be doing it this year. I have no problems with that. Would love to go to a couple games, but I just want to watch football, and if that means staying home to watch the games, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'll be over there. I'll be over at your place watching a couple this season.
Yep.
Mike, I'm gonna invite you over there too.
All right, you guys can come over here too, man. We do a Sunday thing every Sunday.
There you go.
So getting back on the protocol and the regulation that's been set, is there actually been something written down? Because again, Swank mentioned Hammer's Lot is a privately owned property. If I have an acre at my home and I'm used to having 30 cars come, is it written state law that you can't have 15 people park in your, what I mean? The timing might be perfect. It gives people 3 weeks to maybe sign a petition or to have a lawsuit against maybe the county for restricting people to come into your house. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be.
I think it's a state thing. I think the 50. I mean, just because with the music stuff and playing in the band and like what the venues have to go through right now as far as like gatherings and stuff go, I think the 50-person limit is like the end all be all right now. If you have more than 50 people in one place and somebody catches wind of it, they're coming over to check on you to make sure you got your mask, to make sure that you're 6 feet apart. When I sing, people have to be 12 feet away from me because my mouth is moving more, so they think that you're going to get more particles flying 12 feet away. Yeah, I don't know. There was something about like how it's actually 24 foot away that it can spray like the microbes or whatever. But 12 feet away, it should be dissipated enough to where it won't affect. I don't know. It's just like there's so much to it, and it's their world, man. Like they can shut it down whenever they want.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, play nice and then get rowdy next year. That's what I say.
But you hate to talk about next year, but can you imagine how crazy it will be next year?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been to a game where there's the stadium's full at 72,000, and there's just as many outside celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
If they win a playoff game, none of this is going to matter.
No.
Everybody's going to be sick. None of this is going to matter. we'll all be in bed being like, yeah.
Coughing all over the place.
Yeah.
So something you might actually see is these Bills backer bars.
Yeah.
There's limits on how many people can go into a bar. But now you're going to see more bars probably packing up to their legal limit with the COVID, which is good business for them. The bars are actually getting money instead of the property owners.
Yeah.
But look for Bill's backers bars to start filling up, and also other bars around.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think there's going to be a lot more just like, small house party, and people are going to gather at people's places. You know what I mean? Because even with the bars, like you're saying, that's great. If you got outdoor accommodations, then you're probably okay. But other than that, if you're inside, it's still 50 people, So it's, man, it's rough. But I think the light at the end of the tunnel is that, like, it's starting to loosen up. So maybe by October, it's 100 people, or it's whatever. Like, you can be 3/4 capacity instead of like half capacity or whatever. So hopefully as we go through, it'll get better. But
I got a buddy that just wrote on here, Josh Cook. Most bars are going to do reservations, he believes. So you got that. So if there's 50, you better make your reservation to get in there if you want to watch the Bills play.
And I wonder how much one of those reservations is going to cost.
I don't know. I mean,
well, they got to make money.
Yeah,
that's how everything works, right?
Yeah,
is they're losing money one way or another. What better way to make reservations, which is perfect, Josh. It's a good share. And then put a ticket price. I don't know if you can sell tickets, though, Swank. Can you sell tickets?
Well, so that's another thing. So we played a show last Sunday, and it was closed to the public, 50 people, 6 feet apart, live stream, and it was put on by the New York State Brewers Association down at Crafty's. So we did that, and that was fine. We played the exact same venue Wednesday, and it was open to the public, and the rules had changed. And now it's venues and bars and breweries cannot advertise events that they're having that would attract people to their bar or brewery. So they couldn't say the Endless Mountain Derelicts are playing here Wednesday night. We had to say it, which, I mean, we push and we do, and we advertise all we can, like as much as we can. But it's so backwards to tell a business you can't hold any events knowingly that would bring business to your brewery because of what's going on right now. It's just so backwards.
If they set limits on the amount of people that come in, who cares how they get them there?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
you know what I mean?
The whole thing is like, if you have an attraction and more people come, then you might be a little more lax with the rules to try and recoup a bunch of this money that you've lost.
That's true.
You got people that, like Crafties or whatever, that like, they just want to make their living. They want to do it right. And I feel like that's what the majority of places around here want to do. Going to the ticket sales, after Wednesday, it changed again Friday to where venues can't sell tickets for events. So it's just, I said I'm kind of contradicting myself, saying that like it's loosening up a little bit, but really like that part of things is starting to like tighten up even more. So
trying to confuse people.
I know. I like to talk in circles so people can't.
No,
catch up,
I mean the guys making the regulations.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's different rules every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I can see how a lot of business owners that are unfortunately going under and trying to make these decisions are having a hard time making these decisions, because one week you're allowed to do stuff and the next week you're not, and then vice versa. And it's got to be tough. So if that is the case, Josh Cook, and you need to make reservations to get to these local bars, these local places, make them, fill them up, give them the money they deserve. They need to reopen.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, I think we're going to take a quick break pretty soon here. Swank, one more time, what was the name of that band that you playing?
The Endless Mountain Derelicts.
Little plug.
Yeah.
All right,
thanks,
guys,
buddy.
let's go on a quick break. We'll be back in a quick second. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a couple seconds.
Hello, 24/7 Bills Fandemonium fans. Scott here.
All right.
On behalf of Jared, Justin, Swank, and myself, we would like to thank you for joining in on the podcast tonight. We hope you're enjoying the show. During this late intermission, we want to remind you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also watch or listen on our live stream on Facebook Live, or catch up on our podcast via YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, and subscribe if you like what you're getting from the 24/7 Bills Fandemonium Forum. Every week we'll be discussing everything current with the Buffalo Bills. We have up-to-date stat lines, injuries, and 24/7 Bills news on the tracker below as we discuss our Buffalo Bills during this offseason. Again, we thank you very much for your support, and remember, join the conversation, join the Stampede.
Welcome back to 24/7 Bills Fandemonium presents the K-Gun Report. We just got done talking about the Bills Stadium and all that good stuff and our thoughts on COVID-19. We had a good discussion. Now we're going to get a little bit into our weekly wrap-up. We had a lot going on. Quick little highlights. We got Trey getting beat, Andre Roberts impressing, Epinesa, he's playing all over the place, not just nose tackle, but he's out at defensive end. We're a couple weeks in now, guys. We're getting closer. Like we said earlier, we got 19 days till kickoff. Scott, after reading some stuff this week and watching some videos, what's this? Let's wrap this week up. What are your thoughts?
My first thought is I am excited about Gabriel Davis.
Yeah.
He has done twice in 2 weeks what no experienced wide receiver in the NFL has done in a 16-game period in the regular season in one playoff game. He beat Trey White twice. If you saw last week's video, he had a slant route coming across the middle, and it was man coverage. Trey White trailing behind him. Perfect pass by Josh Allen, full speed, which is good to see. You know, Josh, mid-range is pretty good for them with him. Caught it stride for stride, and I know he's got 4.54 40 speed.
24/7 Bills Fandemonium.
4.54 40 speed, which, you know, it's not bad, but, you know, people talk about game speed. And when he caught the ball, I don't know if Trey White pulled up or what, but he took off and he sprinted down the field and scored a touchdown. And then earlier this week, obviously Trey White had some pretty tight coverage on him. Josh Allen dropped another dime, and Trey White's hand was right there. Gabriel Davis, who he has known to do. He's known to go up. He's known as a deep threat there at UCF, and he's also known to go up and grab that ball. And he did just that over Trey White and brought that ball in the back of the end zone and scored a touchdown. You know, I'm a fantasy football guy. I see fantasy football. ESPN gave him, I think it was 18 total points. 18 total points this year projected. That's like 5 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. He's a legit number 4. I mean, you hate to start giving number 4 wide receivers props, but with Diggs, Brown, and Beasley, Gabriel Davis is beating our number 1 guy and arguably the number 1 guy in the NFL twice. And, Trey White's giving him praise for it. And when you say week 1 wrap up, that's the first thing I think is Gabriel Davis is making a name for himself. And you see it on a video, and it's really exciting to see him doing that. Remember, we talked last week, this guy potentially, he went in the 4th round, but he, analysts and all that stuff had him potentially going in the 2nd, but because the wide receiver depth there was so much depth in the draft that he fell to us in 4th, and Bean and McDermott snatched him up, and we're going to ride with this young kid. He's going to impress. He's going to open a lot of eyes out there. And I can't wait. We're number 13, guys. Keep your eye open for Gabriel Davis.
Yeah, I mean, this is Bean doing what Bean does, right? So now you have this rookie that is showing off in training camp and learning the playbook and beating the number 1 cornerback in football, and you got John Brown and Cole Beasley, these veteran guys who do a great job and have great attitudes. You got Stephon Diggs, but now you potentially have the future. You gotta keep Gabe Davis. Like, you got to. Like, there's no reason not to. He's making big plays. He's impressing people. He's a big body. So now when you're talking about John Brown, what's he got? 2 more seasons on his contract. So you might potentially already have a replacement for him, and it wouldn't be that big of a loss for him to go. As much as I love Smoke, but like, it's just to see like the planning that goes into it and like the care. We haven't had this here in a very long time. So I'm right on the Gabe Davis train, man. He's awesome.
Well, to go off the age, you're telling John Brown's getting a little old. Both Brown and Beasley are past their 30s.
Yep.
So you want to talk about drafted for the future? You did, and Diggs is only 26.
Yeah.
So you still have your number 1 all the way through, and now you got. I mean, you hate to bump off Brown and Beasley, but they're with Buffalo. They're going to do what they do in Buffalo, and they're going to be our Buffalo Bills wide receivers.
Yeah.
But when you think about down the road, they got Gabriel Davis and Isaiah Hodgins, and it's smart. You got 2 30-plus-year-old wide receivers. It's smart to start thinking about the future because you have to. And no, it's very exciting. Our wide receivers are set for a while, I think, and they'll all be on rookie contracts.
Yeah, you also got to remember that Brown and Beasley were at that point in their career too. Yeah. They were coming in while the older guys were going out. So it's not like it's a new thing in the NFL. It's business. No. They all know what business is. They know these 2 guys. And the culture that the Buffalo Bills have created is we're getting older. They're going to bring in younger players. We're not going to hold grudges. We're going to show these guys how the ropes go. We're going to show these guys how to run patterns. We're going to show these guys how to be leaders. So,
yeah. And
the big thing is Beasley came out and said he's not playing for stats and money anymore. He's playing for the love of the game, and that just tells you right there that he's excited about what he's doing, and excited about what the Bills are going to be doing in the future.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I am in no way. Like, I hope both those dudes get extended a year or 2 if need be, or if it allows it, or if they want to. I love both those guys, but it's just exciting to see that we have people in the office that know what they're doing, or so it seems right now. I guess Davis could go into a game and become Zay Jones like we were talking about before, but right now, all you've heard is he knows the playbook. John Brown is singing their praises about how well they're learning and running routes, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, there's video evidence of this dude lighting up Tre'Davious White, and that's got to burn Trey, man. He's got to be mad about that. Like,
making him better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then Duke Williams goes and has another amazing catch this past week.
And what, man?
How's he? He knows how to manipulate his body. He's pulling the ball down by his kneecap. He's going up and over people. Duke Williams is. I was going to mention him next. He's making a hell of a name for himself.
He's making it
And you
hard,
hate
man.
to say it, if he's going to be one of the guys that are they going to cut him or are they going to trade him? If they don't see him on their team, but he is really pushing his name to be on that final roster week 1, and we've seen it even like I mentioned last year, and the practice squad. They'd highlight the practice squad highlights, and he was coming down with these amazing catches.
Yeah.
And he besides that one important drop in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure, man. A lot of
But
pressure on the comeback. I mean, he was a stud up in Canada, and then he comes down and you throw him into like these situational games. He's like that feel-good Buffalo story that people wanted to get behind, and I love that. I buy into it so much. Like, I just love that story. But do you keep him? Like, so if it came down to it, putting him on the practice squad or Hodgins, like, what do you do?
Right.
Do you go with the guy that's already been in your system for a year? You can trust him. It's a COVID year. You bring him up and you feel like, okay. Or do you go with this rookie who's got flashes and he's huge and he's young and moldable and you can make him into exactly what you want. And then if he doesn't bite, maybe you'll get a better trade value for him. I don't think you're going to get any trade value for Duke right now.
Yeah.
It's tough, and it all comes down to how many they're going to take. With Foster, unfortunately for him, injury report has him on concussion protocol, and without a preseason, I'm sorry, you just may have wrote your ticket for a seasonless with the Bills, obviously.
Does that make like do you think that makes the decision easier for the coaches when someone goes down for like a concussion?
I think if they were on the bubble in the first place, then it definitely does. If he was someone that was fighting for a position like number 4 or 5 spot, then that would make it difficult. But I think Foster would be is that 7th or 8th, the last spot, fighting for. And unfortunately,
I think he's 9, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think like this year was going to be the year. Like, I think they gave him a pass for last year. This is the year that you were supposed to come out and just put all your cards on the table. And if you're hurt and you can't be on the field, I mean, I don't know. Like, I like him. He's fast.
So Swank, what you're saying is he's going to be the number 9 guy, so he's out. So the Bills are going to keep 8, and it's either going to be Hudgens or
I didn't say 8. I didn't say 8. I hope they do. I think it'll be what is it? I think every year McDermott's coached, he's only kept 6, right? And so it would be an anomaly if he kept 7, but they should be more pass first this year.
He's never had the ball as an offensive coordinator either.
Yeah.
Dayball.
And is that including the practice squad 6?
I'd have to check it, man. I don't know. I don't
it
think so.
Total,
it
right?
might be 7 total. Yeah.
Okay.
But game day active 6. For
right.
sure.
Then you got to pick one. Who's that guy that's not going to make it, Hodgins or Duke Williams?
I'm
Because
not
I'm
answering this question.
The guy that's not going to make it, you're saying?
Yes.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah, I would throw Andre Roberts in there, but he had one heck of a catch.
No, he's going to make it.
That he's going to be more than a kick returner. If you need be, he's going to be called on. So I used to pick on you because I always thought Andre Roberts was going to be out. Because here's another injury update is Christian Wade. He injured himself. So there's another possible, I don't want to say easy out, but if you were arguing that he was going to be the kick return specialist, well, he can't be if he's injured. So Andre Roberts is kind of making his name for a nice catch in the end zone. Nice adjustment, looking good at wide receiver, but a specialist. But so that's going to put back the wide receiver spot. So I know it's hard. I'm glad I don't have to make the decision.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
If you were, just give me a name. Who are you cutting? Who's the last guy you're cutting?
I don't know, man. With the circumstances, like you said, with COVID and everything, I wanna lean towards keeping Duke because he already knows the system. He's been in the league.
Yeah.
But I think you got to keep Hodgins, man. I think you have to.
It's hard to
I
pass
think
up that 6'4",
Yeah.
220-pound wide receiver that has a 75% catch percentage in the end zone inside the 20 in college.
Yeah.
It's hard to pass that big body up.
Yeah,
Remember
you just
a
don't
couple of
know.
weeks ago, I told you about the perfect red zone
And-
scenario doesn't even include the top three.
Yeah.
And Duke Williams has a couple years on him too, so
Yeah.
go
But
for age over. Okay,
age over beauty.
yeah,
I would. I really want to use the argument like you know what Duke Williams is, but you don't. Like
yeah.
you don't. It's almost like you had to treat him as a rookie last year. You know, even though he had all that experience in the CFL, coming in and playing in the NFL and then catching his first touchdown pass and then getting acclimated back into the NFL and like producing. And when they called his number, except for the playoff game, which I think that was a heavy load, man. Like for him, still like for the most part last season he was there for you.
Yeah.
I thought he impressed personally. I
Yeah.
thought he looked great. He
Yeah.
did look great, and he provided something that the Bills didn't have last year in a big-bodied wide receiver. I
And
know
now they got that though.
they got a couple.
Yeah.
They got a couple, and is he expendable now? That's tough. I don't think he's trade worthy.
No.
You're not going to trade away your Isaiah Hodgins. He's a rookie you just drafted. That is a tough call. It's a good position, as we've discussed, to be in finally for Buffalo Bills, to have a tough time trying to decide who you're going to cut because everybody can make the team. But it's a tough one. And like Jared said, I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. But if I'm going to pick someone, I'm going to say they're going to do 7 and have somebody go to the practice squad. Isaiah, practice squad, Duke starting.
And then you can interchange those, right? Week to week.
And then, God forbid, there's an injury somewhere. Isaiah can come in and fill in pretty quick.
So in all these scenarios, does that mean McKenzie's gone?
Oh, McKenzie's there.
Because so last
I
year what they did was Duke was active when they needed the big body guy. Isaiah was active when they needed the small little jet sweep guy. So if you're going to keep one extra guy on the active roster on game day and not be quite so predictable for what predictable. That's my Phelps accent coming out of me.
Predictable.
Like it might make sense, you know. I really think they should carry 7, man. I mean, you got all these guys, man, and Josh Allen, like he's starting to get better. Like, it just be nice.
It's tough. Like the only way I can see, I don't know, with the big body that Duke Williams is, do you carry another tight end position and put him there?
Yeah, you could.
You know, with Dawson Knox and Tommy Sweeney, who's injured, but he's going to come back shortly. And then I'm a fan favorite of Kroom.
Yeah.
He looked well with Josh Allen when he was healthy. He was injured last year, obviously. And I don't know who's their fourth guy now. Is it Lee Smith or is it it's Lee Smith, isn't it?
Lee Smith, Croft. Knox,
Yeah,
Sweeney,
I mean that's a tough one too. There's potentially 5 on their roster.
That's true. Nobody's talking about that, man, because you gotta keep Croft, you gotta keep Knox. Then what?
You got to keep Sweeney. I think you got to keep Sweeney.
Yeah.
He's from Boston College and he performed well there. He's a big guy, and him and Knox I think are the future for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
But it's a good position to be in. I'm happy we're talking about this.
Yeah, me too.
But I hate to see someone that you are rooting for to be successful in Buffalo to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well,
but there's always that trade option, and you can get a 5th, 6th, 7th pick for him. And we all know how McDermott and Bean turn picks into successful trades or successful picks.
Yeah. I know they said something about Sweeney maybe starting the season on PUP, and then then having a better idea of who they want to keep, and maybe Kroom comes out, or maybe who knows.
Right.
Lee Smith, man, I love him, but like.
False start.
I just don't think you need him.
False start. Yeah, he's penalty prone. I wasn't a big fan. Apparently, he's one of Josh Allen's favorite leaders. Gets a lot of advice from Lee Smith, which is good. It's good to have that in the locker room. But unfortunately, when you cause a lot of drives to stop because of the false start issues at home, that's an issue.
Yeah. Jared,
I-
who did you like standing out this week on offense?
On offense, I'm going to go with a generic answer, and just the videos that I've seen, and some of the audio that I've heard, our quarterback is apparently throwing receivers open now.
Oh yeah,
So you saw some of the video. Trey had great coverage on Davis. That ball was placed perfectly on both occasions. The one over the middle, you didn't see Davis slow down at all, right? Stride for stride. That over the shoulder catch, you didn't see Davis slow down at all for that. And like Tre'Davious White was in the perfect spot. So he is improving. And I know we've heard a couple stories where maybe they struggle a little bit on offense. I think a little bit earlier in the week, but they'll get a hold of the rest of that. They got 3 more weeks. It's the beginning of training camp. Once he gets on, he's going to be on.
yeah.
Another thing that I'm impressed with, and the safety scenario there, we got Marlowe, Dean Marlowe.
Dean Marlowe, yeah.
Yep.
Now, is he more of the hybrid guy? I know he could play the safety position, but I think he's been up on the corner every once in a while, hasn't he?
He does kind of this. He does kind of the same thing that our Cyran Neal does. Cyran Neal, right? He does kind of what Saran. He does kind of what he does.
Yeah, he's breaking up the ball.
If Poyer or Hyde need a break, they'll be back there doing their job, and they do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
You don't become top 3 defensive backfield just by your starters. Your relief also performs well. But Dean Marlowe and Neal, they play that safety position. If they have to come up and be the big package for the nickel pack position, they'll play that well. That's what Bean and McDermott produce, is people that are hybrid and they can play multiple positions. That's why their defense is so successful, because they are able to put healthy, fresh legs out there every play.
And another thing that's promising, I'm just going to throw this out there as well, is Micah Hyde, I think today or yesterday, was just quoted as saying this is the most competitive training camp he's ever been a part of.
Yeah.
And it's coming from a defense that's finished in the top 5 the last 2 years, and he's been a part of it.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives praise to this Bills offense and the direction that they're going. If Micah Hyde is saying that the competition is the best he's ever been against in training camp. And that goes back to last week's K-Gun report when I said that this might be a blessing that the Buffalo Bills don't have a preseason game, because if they're truly a championship caliber, playoff caliber team, and they're going against one another, they're going to sharpen that iron pretty quickly and from top to bottom. And, we have depth in all the positions, so it's just going to make everybody better. And it's going to be exciting to watch. And, it's awesome that the Bills training camp is a competitive camp this year.
Well, speaking of competitive,
thing in there that we can discuss. I mentioned Andre Roberts a little earlier, how he might be the special teams, kick return specialist. This week we signed Lachlan Edwards from the Jets.
Lachlan Edwards.
Lachlan. It's a small part of the game, but it isn't a huge part of the game, is that special teams. And it all comes down to field position.
Dude.
We've played against the Jets. We know how he does. He's a pretty good kicker. And Scott, what are your feelings about signing a punter?
Okay, so before we start this, I know you did this because I have a hard time with the hard names. So, Swank, what's our current punter's last name? Borjuaguez? Bajorquez. Okay, so
he might not be the punter anymore.
When you're ranked number 30th and you're inconsistent, they will find someone else that will replace you. And they went out there and grabbed Lachlan Edwards, and they went from 30th rank to 15th rank. And this punter was ranked 15th on a pretty not so good team.
But he had a lot of punts.
He did, but the only thing that he didn't have more than our current punter is punts within the 20. And of course, when you're punting from your 10 and 20 yard line, that's hard to do. But it just shows you, I keep going back to Bean and McDermott. They're making the team better, and punters are people too. Punters are football players too, and they went out and they basically moved the opposing offense back 7 or 8 yards which is huge in the NFL because we all know how turning the field around is a huge contributor to how successful you are. They just made their team better just by adding that 7 yards that the opposing team has to get. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is when it comes to punting.
Yeah, I think with Taiwan Jones and Saran Neal, and then Tyler Makovich, that's the one I can't do either.
Special teams guy number 44.
Yeah. So yeah, the guy from Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
So they're talking about with Taiwan Jones and Neal, like they're like two of the best gunners like in the league. So not only do we have this top 5-3 defense, and now you have an offense that should at least be middle of the pack, like at least at this point, right? I think that's like a fair assumption. But now you have all these special team like gurus out of nowhere. It was kind of like a sneaky attack. So on all three phases of the game, like if you can flip the field and have good kick coverage, and you have a stout defense, and then you have an average offense, that's a recipe for success. You know, like you don't have to be killing it on all three phases. But right now, the only thing that's holding this team back, or is a question mark at all, is how is the offense going to perform when it comes down to it. And if they perform one touchdown per game better than they did last year, yep. I don't know, man. I don't know who's going to be able to touch them. If they can shore that up, it's going to be nasty. And again, credit to Bean, man. Bean and McDermott. They know what the hell they're doing, for sure. But
I'm glad they're on our team.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so another thing that happened this week is it's been reported that our AJ Epinesa has been,
Dude, he lit him up.
Traveling along the line. Is that an indication of how the defensive line is going to play? Is it just going to be him moving around, or is it going to be everybody moving around? Swank, why don't you jump in there?
I think.
What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, I think they're just trying to see where he fits in. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's Did you guys see that video of him lighting up Winters? Oh my God.
In Winters' defense, I did see his right leg collide with the right tackle's leg.
Oh, okay.
But that being said,
still
that happens in games, and so take advantage of it.
And I mean, Winters is
confidence booster.
He's I think he's a solid player, whatever. But man, it looked real nice, man.
It did.
It just it got me going a little bit. Yeah, I think they're trying to see where he fits in best. Move him around a little bit. He's reportedly just a football player, like that's his skill set. He likes to go after the quarterback. He likes to just play, rough nose football. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll move him around. Maybe they'll do all that stuff. Yeah, I think they got the ends like pretty much set, except like especially if they keep Trent Murphy around. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So it'll probably be a rotation, just like everything else.
Well, the sack master, I'm calling him for the whole season, Mario Addison, to go along with the Epinesa and our rotating defensive line. He came out this week saying that our new pickup free agency, Quentin Jefferson, is a beast of his own.
Yeah.
And this whole rotating defensive line, I'm on board. I believe will be causing a lot of problems. And it won't be just Epinesa bouncing back and forth. Epinesa, if you watch his films in Iowa, he played defense. He played in the one position and all that stuff. He's lined up over the guards and centers, and he's done well. Like I said, he's a long, lengthy guy. He's able to create separation, and they're going to find out the more they test his waters to see how versatile he is on that defensive line, the more happy they're going to be, and the more happy the fans are going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch. We did the story about Fred Smerlis earlier this week, and they had the Bermuda Triangle as the nose tackle and two linebackers. there's got to be a name for this rotating defensive line. And man, what do you call them? Because they're going to be gobbling people up. The reason why they call them the Bermuda Triangles, running backs would go in there and they wouldn't come out.
Yeah, you never see him again. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the '80s, Fred Smerlas led that nose tackle position, and they were the number one ranked defense in the league. But and it all starts up front.
Yeah.
So when you have more than your starting positions as studs, when your backups on the sidelines are waiting, itching to get in, and they're studs too, that's gonna we're all expecting big sack numbers this year, but if it doesn't happen, they're going to gobble up so many people that the linebackers are going to have free range too. And it just starts from the front and it works back. And yeah, it's going to be something crazy. Now we've also touched on 24/7 BF fan page, the fact that Darren Lee and Ansah were two guys that we were asking our followers to comment on. Scott, I know you like Darren Lee, but with already studded defense, what would be the benefits of adding one of these guys?
Well, Darren Lee, drafted by the Jets, I think in 2016. I think I actually have it written down here. He is someone that had very high potential. I mean, he was drafted in the first round by the Jets. That's not saying much because the Jets always pick up players that don't really perform well. Yeah. But Darren Lee shortly after that went to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't think he has reached the ceiling. I mean, the top-rated inside linebacker. He can also play outside linebacker. And he was hyped to be an all-pro linebacker that could play everywhere. And I just don't think he's reached that potential yet. And it potentially could be he just hasn't met the right coaching staff. I would like for them to sign Darren Lee. Nothing come of it yet. I know he went in there Monday. Usually that stuff happens pretty quick when they decide. But when you look at the depth, Klein and Boshan Joseph, they're going to be competing for that right outside linebacker position. But then who do you have backing up Trey Edmonds? Tremaine. That's right. The next question mark. I mean, I know they have decent depth. Thompson's back there, but to have someone like Darren Lee backing him up, I would take it, and I don't think he would cost much. I'm a fan of him. He performed well in college, buttload of tackles. I think. Let me see here. In just 3 years, 90 tackles a season, only 1.35 sacks a season, and 4 pass defense per season. I just think you give him the right coach. He's 6'1", 235. He'd be one of our bigger linebackers as far as weight. You get him the right coaching. You have him competing with Tremaine, AJ Klein. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He may not have the talent there, but he's a savvy vet. And you give him the right coaching and Frazier. You never know. And he's still young. I think he's only 25 years old. So you can still mold this first-round draft pick that hasn't reached the ceiling into something special, I think.
I like it. I had to go there. I know those are two guys that we saw go on free agency.
I like to bring up the free agents that come in and visit because it just gets people thinking about the potential of how the defenses could as good as our defense is, it's good to see how they could potentially change. Yannick Njoku, did I say that right, Swank?
It was close enough. I'll let it go.
Yeah. He's going to cost the Bills $18 million. He's only 1 year, and they potentially could land him. But if it's Super Bowl now, which it is in Buffalo, that wouldn't be a bad move. But we're loaded in the defensive end position.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Ansah, he's bounced around the league a little bit. Played for Detroit and Seattle. He's only 30. He's 31 years old, but he's been a Pro Bowler, all pro player at times. It'd be interesting to see how he would fit in the system and the rotation. But the reason I'm more excited about Darren Lee is those two prior positions were defensive ends. This is an outside linebacker / inside linebacker that can play both spots. That works besides Milano and Tremaine Edmonds. We're kind of still on the fence of who's going to stand up and be that other outside linebacker and or our relief, God forbid, Tremaine Edmonds gets hurt, who's going to back that guy up?
Yeah.
And I think it was good they brought him in, and I honestly hope they do sign him. I don't think, like I said, he won't cost much. 25 years old, the potential's there. I think the Bills should go after him.
Right.
Yeah, again, it's just like nice to know that we're in this really, really good position, and they can just keep shopping, and bring these guys in that could just, you're not looking to make huge, giant steps in depth. You're just looking to be like, well, this guy's just a little bit better. He can do something a little bit better than what we wanted to do before. Really quick before, I know we only got like 6-ish minutes left here, but I wanted to say Stefon Diggs. We didn't talk a lot about him tonight, but it has been reported that he is starting to jaw. He's starting to like hype people up. He's starting to like communicate very well and let people know if they're doing something wrong, let people know if they're doing something right, including one Josh Allen, including Andre Roberts. He's really getting involved in being a leader, and I love that. I love that passion's there, that he cares enough, he's invested enough. I think that's a really good sign moving forward, along with everything else that's going super well right now. I think that's super promising.
Yeah, and successes in the NFL, but successes in life is the ability to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And like, you're spot on. I've heard lots of things about him communicating with individuals. When Josh Allen had to sit out that day because of that scare, Matt Barkley was noted saying that Diggs was saying, okay, how do you like me to come out of my breaks? How do you like this setup? So he communicates with everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's important. And not only Diggs is, yes, it's good that he's communicating, but the whole Buffalo Bills organization is communicating with each other, and it starts at the top. And yeah, that's the true tag of a leader, is to be able to communicate and get people to listen.
Well, I think it's super nice and comforting to know that this guy who had, one of the best route runners, if not the best route runner in the NFL, coming in from, a year where he was unhappy, and now he comes to Buffalo, and it could be a Billsy move, right, where like maybe he comes in and he blows up your locker room. It kind of reminded me of like what would have happened if we would have got Antonio Brown. I'm so glad we avoided that. But this guy is not that guy. He just seems more passionate, and that he cares, and that I can get behind. And for you to be an outsider coming into something that's already been, solidified, and to feel comfortable enough to be like, hey, you're messing up. Hey, I'm doing this. Let's do that. What do you want me to do? I think that's amazing. Like, that's exactly what you want. So,
well, with the limited media that's allowed in these camps, they caught that moment. I don't know if you guys saw that, where they show Diggs talking to Allen.
yep.
And then that next play, you see Diggs run a slant route. They didn't show how he moved and how he did it, but the ball was spot on. And before Diggs even turned around to run the route, you could see that he like pointed at Josh, and then he turned around, dropped the ball, and celebrated.
Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. They're talking back and forth. They're getting one another.
Yep.
And, it's just not those two. They're just getting it, and they're putting it on the practice field. My high school football coach always said, perfect practice makes for perfect games. You practice to make things happen the way they do. So when you go into the games, it becomes a norm.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect practice makes perfect games. And they're working on that, and it's exciting. And it was crazy to see the media actually catch that with the limited stuff that they have.
Yeah, when he caught that ball, I know exactly the clip you're talking about, and he turned around and he pointed at him and he screamed, "Big Josh," and it's just like, yeah, I could see that happening on Sundays, man. That's what it's going to be so good.
And to see the young kids see that, you're in the NFL now. You're playing with the big boys.
Yep.
If you want to be an elite athlete, an elite receiver, you have to have a communication with your quarterback. Ask him the questions. Tell him what you like to do, and then that'll take you far. All right, guys. I think that's going to bring us to the end of episode 4. I just want to make a quick shout out to we had a guy retire, Ike Brown. He was one of the first guys on the COVID-19 list. He came back. He's from Florida International. He was 2020 undrafted free agent. He retired. So I don't know the reasoning for it, but I'd like to wish that young man good luck in his future. And, keep pushing on. Guys, again, great show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And every Tuesday at 9:30, we'll be back here talking Buffalo Bills football. And we can't wait to see you next week. Guys, good talk. Have a good week.
Yeah,
Go
man.
Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
No, yeah.